Hello and welcome to That Man. This is another gaming related thing. A few weeks ago I did my complete Nintendo Switch collection, and you know what? A lot of people seem to enjoy that. So I thought I'd go on and do the other next gen console, that is the PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 is an interesting console. I'm not going to lie, I genuinely do not care for the majority of Sony's first party titles. So with this expectation, this is my PlayStation haul, or PlayStation collection. It's going to be JRPG focused because that is basically all I use the console for these days. And there will be some duplicates along with the Switch stuff because, yeah, pretty much anything that came out on the Switch, I actually really enjoyed, I ended up rebuying. So, let's have a look. First up, we have Star Ocean, Integrity and Faithlessness. Star Ocean, you are certainly a series that... Well, yeah, you are a series that I really like the first two ones. Actually, the third one is decent, but I don't have much memories of it. I believe it actually is out on the PlayStation 3. PlayStation 4, they re-released it. But this one, I picked it up, and you know what? I actually played through to the very end. And it was kind of okay. It wasn't anything special. In fact, I don't really remember much of it, except this girl here has quite possibly the most unique costume ever in JRPGs. I wonder if we can see it, we can't see it on the back. But yeah, yeah, Star Ocean, considering it's called Star Ocean, you don't really go into space at all. Yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment. Next up, we have Putty Squad. Oh, so there's a story about this. Putty Squad was famously or infamously on my old channel the title that kind of broke me. It was a title that everybody hyped up and I just absolutely couldn't stand. And I was given a copy of Putty Squad as a joke and I really didn't want it. And I tried to sell it, but it was an American copy, so CEX or Granger Games or whoever it was I tried to sell it to would not accept it, would not buy it. So I've been forever stuck with a copy of Putty Squad. And yeah, that's about it. It is an old Amiga game that was re-released onto the PlayStation 4, and yeah, I mean it's not absolutely abysmal. It's just kind of like it hasn't aged particularly well. It hasn't aged well at all. It's probably the worst game I actually own on this console. Next up is another one that I bought. I bought this really cheap. I remember a few years ago I was thinking, oh, I want to start and collect a lot of PlayStation games, and I actually bought a lot of the essential PlayStation games, including like the Uncharted trilogy and stuff like that, and I sold a lot of them. I sold a lot of them onwards when I wanted to buy some Switch games, and that is XCOM 2. I never really got into XCOM. A lot of people really hyped it up, but I kind of feel like I should have played the first XCOM games. It's kind of like Fire Emblem, only it's more aliens and everybody dies. It was really difficult as well. I actually enjoyed what I played of it. I just didn't really get into it. I really need to go back and try and play it again sometime. Next up is the first title that I have not played, and that is Full Metal Panic Fight Who Dares Wins. So this is, I believe this is this is the English version. I didn't realise this actually got an English version. So I am a huge Full Metal Panic fan. It is one of the very first anime that I picked up. And I saw this for, I think it was about £10. And I was just like, I have to own it. I need to own this for £10, and I bought it, and it kind of went into the back of the closet, and I never went and played it again. So yeah, I will someday play it. Someday it's getting time to play all of these games, but yeah, Full Metal Panic. Fight Who Dares Wins. Next up is Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition. This is probably, out of all of the PlayStation exclusives, the title I got on with the most that I played. I've not played God of War or Spider-Man yet. And yeah, it's decent. My biggest problem with it's not really a problem. My biggest issue is that I got it not long after. I got actually with my PlayStation Pro when I had to rebuy the PlayStation because my PlayStation 4 just broke. It doesn't hold any charge or anything like that, or it just randomly shuts off. So I ended up upgrading to a PS4 Pro, and this came with it. But it came after Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I just didn't have any attachment. I didn't care for any of the characters. The world was decent. It was the main game was fine. The DLC I just didn't care. I just couldn't be bothered with it. But overall, yeah, it was a decent enough game. It wasn't anything. It wasn't a 9.3 out of 10. I would say it was a very comfortable 8. Next up is Prison Architect, and yeah, I like these prison games. I like these type of games where you've got to build something. I really like them. Prison Architect, I had it on the PC, but my PC was rubbish, so I got it cheap on the PlayStation, and I didn't play a huge amount of it. I need to go back and play it because it was really good from what I played. Next up is the greatest franchise that the PlayStation ever had, and that's Senran Kagura Estival Versus. And I also have Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash, which are both Senran Kagura games. And yeah, these are just fun little time wasters. I remember completing both of them in about a week each, and yeah, if you like your ecchi titles, you're going to have a lot of fun with Senran Kagura, unless you buy the new one where Sony forced them to censor it. And I never bought a Senran Kagura game ever again on the PlayStation. But yeah, these two, if you like your anime games, if you don't mind ecchi, you're going to have some fun with these ones. Next up is Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix. Now, I'm not going to lie, I really liked Kingdom Hearts, and on the PlayStation 3 I played so much of Kingdom Hearts 1.5, and I bought Kingdom Hearts 2.5, and I couldn't get past, well, it wasn't that I couldn't get past the first level, I just was so bored that I just genuinely did not care to play anything more than the first level in the second game. I did play them originally on the PlayStation 2, and I tried to go back onto Kingdom Hearts 1, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna finish all of Kingdom Hearts. I'm gonna go through all of them, and I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. It just felt very slow. It hasn't aged particularly well, and I feel like these show that. I don't know. I still love the series. I say overall. I mean, it kind of got to a bit nonsense territory. The fact that you had to play like 500 games just to understand the third game, I really put me off it. In fact, I don't even own the third game. I still have not picked it up. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts, I'm gonna have to try and go back through it again, because I really used to enjoy this when I was younger. But even on the PS3 era, which was only like 10 years ago, I still really enjoyed it, and I just couldn't get into it at the beginning of the year when I tried to get into it again. That's life though. Next up is Dragon Crowns Pro. This is a fantastic, absolutely love this RPG. Again, it's very ecchi, but there's a few titles from this developer that I've got in this collection, and I love every single one of them. Actually one of them I haven't played, but yeah, this one is absolutely fantastic. Love every single moment of playing this one. Next up is Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age. I played a lot of this earlier on in this year because I remembered that I hadn't finished it, and I got about 20 hours in and I just gave up. Again, it's, I have a love-hate relationship with Final Fantasy. I buy every single Final Fantasy game that comes out, and I don't think I finished most of them because I just genuinely can't be bothered with a lot of them. I don't know. But this one, I was enjoying it, and then I think I stopped playing it and played something else, and I just never had the urge to go back and play it. It kind of just felt at one point I was just going to different places, and I had zero attachment to anywhere I was and anything I was doing. So I kind of just dropped it for a while and just never went back. But yeah, out of the Final Fantasy games on the PlayStation, and I think this is probably the best one. I can't remember if I own the 10 and 10-2, but yeah, It's Final Fantasy. It's a decent Final Fantasy. Speaking of Square Enix, though, there is a game they have, and in my opinion, it is the best game Square has put out since probably for a long time. Actually, saying that, Square on a whole actually is pretty decent. It's just the Final Fantasy ones I've just seem to be hitting and miss with. But Nier Automata is easily my favourite PlayStation game this generation, or at least one of them. Dear God, this was such a good game. I'm really excited for the original Nier to be re-released. That one, if I eventually do a PS3 video, that one will certainly be covered in that. But yeah, Nier Automata is absolutely fantastic, absolute cream of the crop, and I'm really happy that Nier is now getting the attention it deserves. Flashback to like 2010, 2011, and I'm me sitting there playing Nier and just like going, it's good, and everyone's just going, but it's only got 6 out of 10 on IGN. Yeah, that says all about game rating scores in my opinion. Next up is a game I've had for a long time, but I've not played it. And that is Grand Kingdom. I believe this is the same ones who did Dragon's Crown, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I bought this cheap and I like the look of it. I love the look of it, but I just never got into it. I just never sat down and played it. It's got a bonus art book and soundtrack. That's all I can really see at the moment. Next up is a Japanese title. In fact, we've got 2 Japanese titles, and these are both ones that I believe I've actually repurchased on the... Actually, I can see one of them right here. So the first one is Dragon Quest Builders, which I also have the English edition because it's an RPG, and you kind of have to have an English edition for an RPG, otherwise you're probably not going to understand what's going on. I bought this when it was pretty... I assumed it was going to never come out over here, and I'm a huge Dragon Quest fan, so yeah, absolutely love this game. Obviously, it has been improved over the years by the second one. I feel like if you've got the choice, just buy the second one, which I've got on the Nintendo Switch, but the first one is a lot of fun. I did get the platinum on this one. I think I got it twice, I can't remember, but yeah, really fun game. Really fun game indeed. Next up is One Piece Pirate Warriors Part 3, and this is the Japanese edition. I believe I got for the English one, or I got for the Vita. I can't remember which version I've got it on. I've definitely got it on the Switch as well. I don't know have I actually bought this game 4 times? Possibly. It's One Piece, it's Pirate Warriors, you know what you're expecting. Next up is Dragon Quest 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age. I absolutely love this game. This was probably my favourite game 2 years ago. Possibly. I can't remember what else released that year. But yeah, this is, if you want to play Dragon Quest, this is definitely one of the better Dragon Quest games out there. I really enjoyed it. I absolutely loved every minute of playing this one. And in fact, I'm really looking forward to my Switch replay of it because I enjoyed this one that much. Next up is a franchise I've had a lot of good history with. I really enjoyed the first one on the PlayStation 1, and in fact it's probably one of the few titles I actually have a huge offset of nostalgia for on the PlayStation 1, and that is a game that was remade in 2013, and then they put out a few sequels, and I'm playing through them at the moment, and that is Tomb Raider, the Definitive Edition, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, I finished Tomb Raider Definitive Edition for about the 4th time. It's my go-to game if I just want a quick, easy game to play. I finished that at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of lockdown. I didn't actually have any lockdown. I had still at work, but I still had more time than ever to play games. So Tomb Raider, yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That's my favourite one. Rise of the Tomb Raider improves on a lot of stuff on Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. However, it kind of feels it's a little bit dragged out. That might just be me. But and then I'm currently going through Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which the weakest of the 3, but not really that bad. I'm still waiting for it to open up, and I'm kind of like 50% through the game, so I don't think it's going to really open up like the original 2 do. These 2 really feel like the kind of like Metroidvanias where you upgrade your arsenal and you can explore new areas, and I absolutely love that. I absolutely love Metroidvania type games. But this one feels a little bit more linear, which is a shame, but it's still a fantastic game on its own right. Next up is a franchise that, again, I've only played the first two, but I actually own a lot of them, and that is the Yakuza games. I got quite a bit through Yakuza 0, then I started playing Yakuza Kiwami, and I've also picked up Yakuza 6 for whenever I finish Kiwami and 0, and I actually don't own Yakuza 2. I probably should own that. I actually do own Yakuza 3, 4 and 5, as a collector's edition special box, which is at the very bottom of this pile, so we'll get to that later. But yeah, I really enjoyed this series. This was a series that I always had my eye on years ago, and I absolutely never got into it, but I loved playing this Yakuza 0, which I feel like I need to go back and replay this one properly, because this one, as good as it is, I don't feel it's quite as refined as this one, but that's just me. But yeah, it's still a fantastic franchise. I feel like this is the essential game you need to be having if you own a PlayStation at the moment. It is that good. Next up, we have a Disgaea 5 official art book, which I think I had Disgaea 5 at some point on the PlayStation, and I sold it to buy the Switch one. Next up is Just Cause 3. I love the Just Cause series. In fact, I say that I really like Just Cause 2 and Just Cause 3. It's a huge open world, sandbox, and you can blow things up. What more could you want? Well, the fact that some of these are online trophies, and I do not agree with online trophies because, yeah, but yeah, Just Cause is a really fantastic deal. Yeah, it's a good deal. I could always find this for like £10, and it's always been really good. I do have Just Cause 4, which wasn't quite as good, but we'll get to that eventually. Next up is Fallout 4. Fallout 4. You are not a bad game, but you're not quite as good as New Vegas. And I'm still really hoping for a New Vegas re-release. I don't know why they haven't re-released it on the PS4 or the Nintendo Switch. It just seems so logical. Or at least Fallout 3. I mean, this Fallout 4 kind of feels more like Fallout 3, where it feels like there's less to do. The world is a little bit more empty, and I feel like this gets a lot of bad press, but it's not a bad game, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as New Vegas. I do really want to go back through this again sometime. This was actually the Pip-Boy edition, but I sold the Pip-Boy and stuff like that because it was a big useless chunk of plastic that it took up a lot of space, and I did not need it. Next up is Railway Empire. I am a huge fan of like Railway Tycoon 2, Sid Meier's Locomotion. I can't remember what the other one was called. Chris Sawyer's... Is it Chris Sawyer's Locomotion? It's something like that. It's like the Transport Tycoon type ones. And I bought this and I started playing it and I just couldn't get into it. So yeah, that's about it really. I can't really talk about it. It's another one that's kind of sat on my shelf. I will try and get into it sometime because I love these strategy games and I can sink a lot of time into them. And this one, my brother said, is a lot of good. Next up is... I was so hyped. I was so excited to own Gundam Versus. I remember buying it and being really happy, and then I really didn't enjoy it. See, my problem is I'm not really a huge fighting game fan, and I'm finding Bandai Namco are releasing a lot of what feels like copy-paste fighting games. So I feel like if you've got this one, this is a Gundam skin of the My Hero Academia one, Justice, Pirate, One Piece, which Burning Blood I think it's called, Jump Stars Ultimate, and no, it's not in Jump Stars. Is it Jump Stars? No, G Stars, whatever, I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, they just seem to re-release the same kind of game over and over again, the same fighting game, and I can't get into any of them. But yeah, I bought this because it was Gundam, and I kind of wish I just bought the PlayStation Warriors one instead. Speaking of Warriors, we have Samurai Warriors 4 Special Anime Pack. it comes with anime. That's probably why I bought this on release. Samurai Warriors. In fact, I really, really, really like the Dynasty Warriors, and I actually like most of the Musou games. But I never really got into Samurai Warriors. Even this one, I just couldn't get into it. In fact, the Samurai Warriors game I did play a lot of was the the 3DS one. The 3DS one, because that was the only game on the 3DS at the time, so I played a lot of it. But never got a chance to play much of this one. Next up is Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom. I feel like Ni no Kuni 2 gets a bit of a bum deal when it comes to JRPGs on the PlayStation. I don't hear anybody talking about it, but it is an absolute fantastic title. Not quite as emotional as the first one, but I really still enjoyed it. I love the whole kingdom building aspect of it, and yeah, in general, this was still an essential title if you like JRPGs. Speaking of JRPGs, this is probably my favourite title on the PlayStation. Valkyria Chronicle. This is my favourite game on the PS. Oh, Nier. It's joint favourite with Nier as my favourite PS3 game, and that is Valkyria Chronicles. This is a remastered edition, so it came with a poster and art book and stuff like that, and honestly, I just love this franchise so much. This won't be the last time we talk about Valkyria Chronicles, because there is another Valkyria Chronicles in this stack of games that we don't talk about. Yeah. But yeah, this again, I played so much of this one, and I just love it so much. It is a fantastic strategy game, and I feel like it is an essential title for anybody who loves games. Unless you just play FIFA and Call of Duty, then you might not enjoy it as much. Next up is another tank-based game, and this was an import, and that is Girls und Panzer Dream Tank Match. This was an import from Japan. I got it as a birthday present, and again, this is another Bandai Namco game, so much like the Gundam one, it's a little bit lacking in terms of features. However, unlike the Gundam game, actually no, Gundam kind of gets away with it for this analogy. These are tank controls. So yeah, it's very slow, but if you want a tank-based game and you like Girls and Panzer, if you like anime, I would really recommend this one. Or the re-release on the Switch. The re-release on the Switch had the DAS Finale title in there. So yeah, go pick one of them up and you'll probably have some fun with it. Next up is a title that I bought on PS4 that I originally had on the PS3, and I don't think I played it on the PS4. I got this very dirt cheap, and that is The Witch and the 100 Knight Revival Edition. I remember enjoying The Witch and the 100 Knight on the PS3, and I just rebought it because I was collecting PlayStation games at the time. I think this is the same vein when I bought XCOM 2. Yeah, it's a fun game. I really want to go through it now that I'm sitting there looking at it. Next up is the trilogy of BioShock, the collection. I absolutely love BioShock, the original. Love it to bits. In fact, my first BioShock game was actually BioShock 2, so I do have a little bit of nostalgia for that. BioShock Infinite, I think I enjoyed it enough when it was out on PS3, but when I went back and through all of these, I don't know if I was fatigued with BioShock, because obviously I went through 1, 2 and 3, but I just couldn't get into playing BioShock Infinite. I don't know what it was, I just really didn't enjoy it, but the first one, absolutely love it. I would play the first one any day of the week. In fact, I was actually tempted. If they actually released the first one as a standalone game on the Nintendo Switch, I probably would have bought it, but I don't really fancy buying 2 and Infinite again just to own that. Next up is... Right, so I've been singing the praises of this, and quite frankly, in my opinion, this is the greatest JRPG on Sony consoles for a long time, and it's not Persona 5. It is The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. Oh my god, this game is so good. So I don't hear many I don't know anybody who dislikes it, but everybody who likes it loves it. And this is the story of a few school kids who have they come from various families. They're kind of the movers and shakers in the world, and then they go to this prestigious school and they have to kind of join forces. And the first one is literally just setting up the world. It's literally they just go on little field trips and stuff like that to the various areas and sets things up. Then that sets up everything for Trails of Cold Steel Part 2, which takes place like literally immediately after, or it might be a few weeks after the first one. And yeah, this is kind of when everything starts getting a little bit more grim and serious and political, and well, it's all political, but it's all very interesting. I can't really see much without spoiling it too much, but yeah. And then Part 3 Part 3 is difficult because it kind of starts things again, but you need to play the other ones in order to understand it. But it's still a fantastic, fantastic title. And like I said, I'm a huge JRPG fan. Like, really huge. I grew up on JRPGs, and I can easily say The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel is easily one of the best titles or franchises out there. And easily the best ones you can get on the PlayStation 4 by a long shot. Does Nier count as a JRPG? No, I don't consider Nier a JRPG. Next up is One Piece World Seeker. Right, so yeah. I love One Piece. I love a lot of the characters in One Piece. This game restricted you to playing as Luffy, which is absolutely fine. My biggest problem is that I kind of wanted another good One Piece game where I could play as all of the characters. This is still decent. I feel like out of all of the games that Bandai Namco have put out over the last few years, I think that this is the game they put the most effort into. Well, this was hyped up so much. This was hyped up beyond the moon and back as a new fantastic One Piece game, and it was okay. If you can get it cheap enough, I would definitely recommend picking it up sometime. But it's kind of forgettable. I think that was my problem. I think it was kind of forgettable. I feel like if I could access the whole crew, I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. Just, yeah, the DLC is Suborn Law, which tells volumes of the quality of that DLC. Next up is Dragon Quest Heroes 2. I don't know if I've got Dragon Quest Heroes 1 still. I used to have it. And yeah, it's another Musou game. This is more mission based. I didn't enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed the first one. The first one I did absolutely everything I could to finish it. But this one, it was decent enough. It was another fun Dragon Quest game. I don't really find Dragon Quest has many bad games, but yeah, it was Dragon Quest Heroes. Next up is another one that I really recently talked about, which was Just Cause 4. So I loved Just Cause 3. I absolutely loved it to bits. Just Cause 4, I didn't really bother with it much. I got so far and then I was kind of bored with it. The problem is that a lot of the stuff I really like in Just Cause 3 is that you can just go around and you can just destroy whatever you want. Whereas I felt that was quite missing in Just Cause 4. A lot of the destruction and just being able to go rock up to somewhere and just destroy all of it, it kind of was gone. But you can still destroy stuff, but I just never had any motivation to do so. I don't think you really got anything for destroying stuff, so I kind of got a little bit bored and stopped playing it. Also, you can use tornadoes and tornado people later on in the game. Next up is a title that I had my eye on for a long time, and I mean a long time, and that is 2 Point Hospital. So I was a huge fan growing up of the Theme games by Bullfrog, Theme Park and Theme Hospital. And 2 Point Hospital is essentially a spiritual sequel to Theme Hospital. It expands a lot on stuff what made Theme Hospital so good, and is a lot of fun. It's very difficult. I got so far to, and I was thinking, honestly, I wish PlayStation could show you how many hours you could sink into it, because I reckon I sunk about 40 hours into this, and I'm not even halfway through. It was really good, and the time just went by like that. I think if I ever get to a point where I just wanted to sit and binge some anime or something, I might go back and play this, because you can have it running kind of in the background while you keep an eye on it and then play it. But it's one of those games, it's really good, but it does wear on you after a while, and it does get very difficult very quickly, I found. Next up is another one which I was surprised to see how controversial this series was a few months ago when it was on PS Plus, but I loved it. I absolutely love City Skylines. And again, this is much like Prison Architect, where it didn't really run well on my PC. So I picked it up on the PlayStation 4, and yeah, it's not going to run the same as a PC game, but it still runs well enough. It runs well enough that I can play it, and I can play it for a long time, and that's all I kind of wanted with it. I just wanted another SimCity game. That's all I wanted. Just re-release a proper SimCity game. Just port SimCity onto the Switch or something. Imagine if SimCity was on there. The Switch SNES thing, that would be awesome. But yes, City Skylines, absolutely fantastic city builder game. I love it a bit. Really recommend it. If you got it, or if you already got on PS Plus a few months ago and you're not played it, I would recommend checking that one out. Next up is the Yakuza Remastered Collection. I got this as a birthday present, and I've not touched it because, well, I don't have Yakuza 2, and I've not even finished Yakuza 0 or Yakuza 1. I bought this because I genuinely expected it to go out of stock, and I genuinely thought in my head that I would ever finish Yakuza 1 and 2 and get on to 3, 4 and 5, but they're sitting there waiting for when I eventually do. Next up is Assassin's Creed Origins, the straw that broke the camel's back, so it were. So, Assassin's Creed and me have had an interesting relationship. I really got into Assassin's Creed 2 when it first came out on the PlayStation 3, and I enjoyed Brotherhood. I did not enjoy the one afterwards because I got a bit fatigued with it. Assassin's Creed 3 was okay. I didn't really play much of the PlayStation Vita game, the Liberation, but it is in my collection, which I might actually do a PlayStation Vita collection at some point because I've got some interesting stuff in there. Also, Assassin's Creed 4, fantastic. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, loved it. Assassin's Creed Origins, well, if you want try and do everything, for me, Assassin's Creed, I like to try and get the 100% if I can. Don't do that with this because there's a lot of stuff. It's a big empty world once you kind of do all of the things to do, and there's a lot of stuff still to do. I think I remember sinking another 30 to 40 hours in Assassin's Creed just to kind of wander around and try and get all of the little trinkets and stuff, and yeah, it was not fun. So since then I have no interest in picking up Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I have no interest in ever touching maybe Valhalla. Maybe I might get it in a years later when it's reduced down, but yeah, this I'm still fatigued from it. It's been 2 years, maybe 3 years since I played this. I'm still fatigued from it. That shows how much of a slog this game was. And I can sit there and play games. These were 100 hours each. I can sit and play games for 100 hours if it's good. This was not a fun game to 100%. Next up is another title that I feel like I need to go back and give this one another shot, and that is World of Final Fantasy. Now, this was hyped up as a return to true Final Fantasy form, the turn-based strategy, the turn-based JRPG that we grew up with, and yeah. I don't remember much of this. I remember it being really cutesy, and I remember they going into different worlds and having to help different characters, and yeah, that's all I remember. I remember the first few hours has been an absolute slog of a game. Yeah, I'll go back to it at some point. Nobody talks about this one, so I think there's probably a valid reason as to why nobody talks about this one. And then we go on to, from World of Final Fantasy onto, my god, I hated this game so much. This is this was quite possibly one of the worst Final Fantasy games I've ever played. At least Final Fantasy 13, I had some attachment to any of these characters. Driving Simulator, I mean, what? It did a lot of things I liked. I liked the fact that it went a little bit more open world and there was a nice world explore. But I just didn't care about any of these guys. This guy was boring, and I just didn't care about it. This guy was a jerk. This guy was boring, and this guy... I played about 20 hours of this before deciding I could spend my time better by playing anything else. And it wasn't even complete. Day 1 edition, you didn't even get the full game. I mean, they cut it up and released 5 different DLCs or something, including the actual ending. Absolutely ridiculous. Another game that I didn't... This one's interesting because I picked up Dishonored a long time ago, and this was one of those ones where it went down to £5, and I picked it up, and yeah, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this one. Again, but this is kind of like a few other games. I picked it up, and I think I had the second one afterwards, and did I start the second one? I think I played it, and I was just like, yeah, I enjoyed that, but that's enough. I don't need to play any more of it. It got very difficult. It's very stealthy. You've got to stealth kill everything, otherwise you just get knocked and got to fight stuff. And eventually, you just got to the point where I was just fighting everything. It was just easier just to fight it than it was just to get through the level than it was to be stealthy, which I find with a lot of stealth games, annoyingly. Next up is .hack//g.u last record. So I played a lot of .hack in my youth. I was probably, was it 2000 .hack release? 2000? That was about my teens. So yeah, .hack is an interesting title. It's basically the Trapped in Another game, which Sword Art was inspired from. But I played all of .hack//gu record part 1. I can't remember what it's called, Rebirth, and then I got about halfway through Reminiscence, and I just kind of got a little bit bored, and I never went back to it. I probably should, but I forgot everything that happened in the first one, so I probably won't. But yeah, I really recommend checking these ones out if you like JRPGs. It's a nice little nostalgic trip. So another game that I have not played is Persona 5. So a lot of people will say this is the absolute pinnacle of JRPGs, and I've not touched it. The reason being is I already know it's 100 hours, and I can't justify just sinking 100 hours into another Persona game. So I got into Persona when Persona 3 first came out on the PlayStation 2, and I got about halfway through it and stopped playing it. I got into Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita, got halfway through it, stopped playing it. I don't know what it is. I just get bored. Again, this is another one. I love the day-to-day school life of the Trails of Cold Steel because it built everything up. But the whole dating sim kind of part of this, where you got to go day by day, I just got bored of it really quickly. I don't know if it's better on this one because I've not played it, but I own the game. And the reason I own the game is because at one point, I think this is the game I bought when I sold off a lot of my old PlayStation games. I think when I bought the Switch, I remember getting this for about £30. I had loads of stock credit. I was just like, I might as well use it. I'm going to play it eventually, or I'll own it eventually. So yeah, I can at least say I own Persona 5. Next up is... oh, God. So for years, the Valkyria Chronicles fandom really wanted a new Valkyria Chronicles game. 2 and 3 were left to die on the PSP or in the handheld games, and we wanted a new one. They announced a new one, Valkyria Revolution. We were like, oh, Revolution, yeah, it's going to be a reboot of the franchise. And by God, we got a game. And you know what? This gets a lot of hate. I can at least say I got the platinum on this. It was very repetitive, but it was playable enough that I could do it. In fact, one of the things I do remember is more than the game itself, I remember sitting watching the entire of Pat the NES Punk while playing this. That was my memories of Valkyrie Revolution. Yeah, I remember her. That's about it. But yeah, infamous game. Next up is a limited run title, As Divine Hearts. I can't tell you anything about this game, really. It's like basically it's a RPG Maker game that they released onto a disc. I got this at the Northeast Retro Gaming event. I noticed that someone was selling off a lot of limited run games for cheap. I think they were about £15-20, and he was just like, I just want base price for them. And he didn't have much left, but he had this one, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to check it out, I'll try it. And yeah, I remember playing a little bit of it, and yeah, it's certainly a RPG Maker game. That's all we'll say about it. Next up is Deception 4: The Nightmare Princess. I remember having a Deception game, but I can't remember if it's the one that I played. So basically, you play, it's basically kind of dungeon keeper. You've kind of got to set up the map so people walk into all of these traps and stuff that you've built and torture them and stuff like that. And yeah, that's about as much of a play. I played about an hour of it. I enjoyed it from what I played, but it's one of those ones where I was sitting there, it's like, I want to get 100%, I'm going to get 100% on this. And then I kind of looked at how long it was going to take 100% and never played it again. I actually want to go back through it because I don't remember much of it, and I just love this character design. It's like Bayonetta with spikes. Next up is another game I've not played much, and that is Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, the last of the classic Lara Croft series, and this is a dungeon crawler. That's about as much as I can tell you because I didn't play much of it. Next up is Akiba's Trip: Undead and Undressed. A lot of people recommended this one to me years ago, and again, I think I had it on Vita. I've got it on the Vita, or I might have had it on the PS3. Again, I really enjoyed it while I played of it, but I didn't play much of it, and I'm actually sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm thinking I might play this after I finish Tomb Raider. There's a few games on here, because my logic now is that I'm actually looking at downsizing a lot of my PlayStation collection, and I'm thinking I might play this one, because I don't remember much of it, apart from all you rip the clothes off vampires to kill them. That's all I remember. Next up is Digimon Monsters, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Again, I really enjoyed this, and I got so far into it and stopped playing it. Yeah, this is happening a lot. Again, I really enjoyed it. I remember getting some of the characters I really wanted in it, some of the Digimon, but I just stopped playing it. Again, I should go back to it. I think I'm going to have to make a list of the series that I really want to go back to and actually sit down and play them, because it's getting quite embarrassing. Next up is Dishonored 2. I only played a little bit of this. Again, I was fatigued after the first one, and I got for next to nothing. But I played a little bit of it, and I just wasn't fancying it, so I just stopped playing it. Next up is South Park: The Fractured But Whole, and that includes South Park: The Stick of Truth. I absolutely love these games. These are such fun games. I would really recommend checking them out at some point. The first one has a fight style, a JRPG combat such as similar to Paper Mario, and the second one is more like Radiant Historia. So yeah, if you like South Park and you like your JRPGs or your RPGs, I would really recommend checking these out. You can get it for next to nothing as well. I'm actually considering picking it up again for the Switch, maybe. I don't know yet, but yeah, I love these games. Nice fun games that you can play through and you can just blast through in a few hours. Next up is one of my favourite games on the console, and the favourite game of all time, and that is Okami HD. So Okami I've bought a few times. I bought it originally on the PlayStation 2 and didn't play much. I bought it again on the Wii and absolutely loved it. And I bought it on the PS3 and did absolutely everything I could. I did everything. I got 100%. And then I bought it on the PS4, and it had the same trophies as the PS3. So I replayed the entire thing, but I just never really did 100% because I was like, you don't have to. Love this game. I play through this game every other year, and it's still fantastic every time. In fact, I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm just like, I kind of want to play it again. I know it's out on the Switch. I don't know if it's got a physical edition for the Switch yet. I'll have to look into that. So, yeah, Okami, absolutely one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion. Next up is another one that I don't hear many people talking about, and that is Odin Sphere. How do I pronounce this? Leifrashir. Another game that I did everything I could on this. Absolutely love this game. It was one that I had my eyes on years and years ago when it came out on the PS2, but I'd never bought it because it was always so expensive. So I never ever bought it, but once I actually did and played through it, loved every minute of it. Absolutely adored it, except my game glitched, so I couldn't get 100%. I couldn't get the platinum trophy. In fact, I might have to go back on it and see if they actually patched it. And this is one I keep picking up where I was just like, oh, do I sell this one? I'm just like, no, it's too good to sell off. In fact, I was quite surprised this never got re-released on the Switch. This would be a fantastic one to get re-put out on the Switch at some point. See with Dragon's Crown, because it deserves that new life. So, final ones here, and we have basically the same game. J-Stars versus and One Piece Burning Blood. Both fighting games. This one is basically, I think it's Jump Force, that's what it's called. This is Jump Force, only with more characters. That's right, they basically re-released this game as Jump Force, only took out half the content, and I can't understand why. But even then, I mean, back in the day, I remember looking at this and just being really disappointed with the character choices. This was trying to go through the whole of the history of Shonen Jump, and then it does do that with some of the characters above here, and obviously we get someone like Bobobo and Koro Sensei. Obviously, Koro Sensei Assassination Classroom was ongoing at the time, but then they kind of didn't do like Eye Shield or Yu-Gi-Oh or Death Note and a lot of the other titles. I was kind of like, yeah. I played this one a little bit and then just didn't. After that is One Piece Burning Blood. I don't remember much of this one. I remember it being a One Piece fighting game, but again, I just had no interest in it. I was so bored with the combat on it. I really didn't like it. Really didn't like it. Well, that is my PlayStation 4 collection. Like I said, there's a lot more stuff. I feel there's a lot more stuff I'm a little bit more critical on, but that's just my. I can certainly see how my tastes have gone over the years when I look at maybe my PS3 collection compared to this. Like I said, there's not really any of the Sony first party big hitters on there because like I said, I did own Uncharted collection and Uncharted 4, and I just sold them on because I needed the space, and I was like, there's more games I enjoy. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Have I got a terrible collection, which is probably going to be the general consensus, or have I got a collection that's is there anything in there that you've been inclined to look into a little bit further based on this video? Let me know, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.